With the Nice Wake-up call for an ambitious plastic treaty. I'd like to know your reaction on that.
Well, we have been working in UNCTAD a lot for the plastic treaty. We believe that we have to do something ambitious, and we believe also that there are opportunities to substitute plastics, and that we can benefit a lot of the coastal communities in substituting the plastic with seaweed material. So we are for the treaty. But let me say only one thing. We need a treaty that hears the voices of the developing countries and that takes into account the need to support sustainable pathways and just transitions for the developing world. So yes, for the treaty, but also yes, for the voice of developing countries and for fair pathways for the change.
Okay, talking about developing countries, Kenya is one of them, and it's good you've mentioned you have to consider the developing countries. In what ways is UNCTAD? Are you working to ensure that these countries are incorporated into all this and they benefit from it?
The first thing we do is we support governments so governments can have the right policies and have a strategy, because what we have is very fragmented policies. And so we need a coherent strategy, yes? That is the first point. We help a lot of countries to do that, and we build capacity, for them to understand, to know the rules, to know how they can play and incorporate the opportunities of trade into the strategy. The second point is that we work with communities, because we need to hear the voice of the private sector and the communities themselves. And so we don't work only with governments, but we bring together the actors, and we also build the capacities in the communities for them to be able to use the international standards and norms in their benefit. Because when they don't have the capacity, what happens? They want to export, but there are so many rules that they have to comply, and they don't have the capacity to do that. Many times they don't understand the rules. And so we try to help them to be able to do sustainable marine economy, fisheries, tourism, port infrastructure, logistics. All of that is important, but it's very important that the communities also have the capacities to be able to take advantage of the opportunities.
Just onto that briefly, perhaps are there any, maybe one or two examples of such initiatives you've had in the developing world whereby you are helping them in those areas?
Absolutely. Well, let me give you the example of Angola. We work with Angola very strongly on the strategy for a blue economy. Now Angola is doing very well. And I think that the most important aspect is that we build a lot of capacity. So they understand what is it, what is demanded, what are the best practices, how to link the blue economy with the international markets. So Angola is a good example. We have also worked with my country, Costa Rica. Yes, and for example, we help the sector, the fisheries sector, to have a sustainable trademark. So people will know that they can really be accountable for compliance, and that the fish that they are eating is done in a sustainable way. And so consumers can also choose, yes, which products they want according to the sustainability of the product. So we made this trademark in Costa Rica called Pura Vida, pure life, and they can have an extra price because of sustainability and maintain the sustainable effort of the fisheries. Or we have worked with Belize, with all the coral and the preservation areas. So we have done a lot with developing countries, with small island developing states, with least developed countries, with middle income countries, and so we can help them do it by themselves.
Okay, it's good that you mentioned blue economy. From your viewpoint, how can developing countries, and particularly East African countries, grow their blue economy sector, and how can this sector be integrated into national development strategy for sustainable growth?
Yeah, let me tell you that the blue economy is really an opportunity because it's an opportunity for diversification. And East Africa has a real a big economic opportunity if they do it right. So what do we need to do it right? And that's the real question. So as I said, we need a legal framework, we need a coherent strategy, but we need finance. And the main point, and many times the main obstacle for the countries to be able to take advantage of these opportunities is really the finance. But to have finance, we need to solve one problem. And that problem is bankable projects. Many of these countries don't have bankable projects and, a whole range, how would you say, a chain of projects that they can present to the private sector and to the financial institutions. So there is a task for the international organizations to support countries to really overcome that obstacle.
So, in your opinion, what are the main institutional and financial challenges that these countries face as far as blue economy is concerned?
First, capacity. For example, I gave you the example of Angola. In Angola, what we did also is we went to the university and we created a specialized course on marine and blue economy. And so now they are also capacitating their own people, their own professionals, to be able to have an ecosystem for the blue economy. And so we do that. So capacity is the first. Policy coherence, as I said, legal framework, and commitment. We have to change the way we look at the ocean. Many times we say, you see the trees, but you don't see the bottom of the sea. So it's very important to make visible what is invisible to our eyes. And so to change our behavior, to change our understanding of the ocean is very important. So we take care of one of the most important commands for food security, for carbon sequestration, for sustainability. The oceans are essential for trade. 80% of trade happens through maritime transport. So let's take care of our oceans, but from UNCTAD, the other message is let us take care of the oceans, but also support livelihoods, because the blue economy is a huge economic opportunity if we do it right.
Okay, just two final questions, and briefly, going back to the plastic treaty, for people who do not understand, especially from the developing countries who do not understand what this, what the
plastic problem is.
Exactly, not just the plastic problem, what the announcement made yesterday meant or means.
The treaty.
Yes. What does it really mean for these people?
Well, for example, it means to ban one-use plastics, because a lot of the plastic that ends up in the sea, we use it one time. It's not recycled. There is no circular economy. You use it one time and you throw it away. And when you throw it away, it goes to the sea. So it means to ban single-use plastics, for example. It means to support innovation and to be able to substitute plastics for a degradable material. Seaweed is one of them. And seaweed economy is really growing so fast. And it's very good for communities because they can grow seaweed, and for women because a lot of the seaweed growers are women. So we can support innovation, we can support science, and we can substitute plastics and ban single-use plastics. So we take care of the ocean.
The final one, the last workshop in Zanzibar, which was supported by UNCTAD and UNCTAD SNEP program. There was a strong focus on plastic treaty negotiations. I'd like just for you to tell us what's your direction of the upcoming round of negotiations in Geneva.
We support UNEP, that is the leading agency in the plastic treaty, and we will use our voice and our awareness and our analysis and our research to really support countries in trying to agree on the treaty. But there are other treaties that it's important for countries to have access to and to commit to. One is the High Seas Treaty. So we can take care, have a legal framework for the seas that are not on the property of any country. That is the property of all of us. That is a common for all of us. We want to support WTO in the fisheries subsidy agreement, so countries be able to be in the treaty and really comply with the commitments. We want also the FAO agreement on overfishing and that depletes fishery stocks and species and biodiversity. And we want countries also to comply with the principles for good behavior and sustainability of UNCTAD. So these are very important steps in a legal framework that will change our behavior, that will allow for sustainability and inclusion, and at the same time protect livelihoods around the world.
Thank you so much.